Mercury returns to Cancer on August 5th, moving direct, right after finishing a retrograde loop that carried it backward through Cancer and into Gemini over the past few weeks. This return to Cancer will last until August 22nd, when Mercury finally moves ahead into Leo. For close to 3 weeks, Mercury's core themes of communication, intelligence, marketing sense, calculation, and quick decision-making will be filtered through Cancer's emotional, home and family-centered nature. It is essential to note that these interpretations are based on sidereal or Vedic astrology, which accounts for the approximately 24-degree difference with the tropical zodiac. Cancer is ruled by the moon and represents everything connected to the fourth house of a chart, meaning mother, home, land, emotional security, and daily nourishment. The sign is made up of parts of 3 nakshatras, Punarvasu, Pushya and Ashlesha, and Mercury will pass through all 3 during this transit. Since Cancer belongs to the moon, and the moon is considered an unfriendly sign for Mercury, Mercury is technically weak here. In practical terms, this means the collective mood around communication and decisions will lean more emotional than logical for these few weeks. People may find themselves making choices with the heart first and the head second, being more sentimental in conversation, or getting swayed easily by feelings in situations where they would normally think things through carefully. Mercury is not walking into Cancer alone. The Sun has already been sitting there since mid-July, and Jupiter is present too, in its sign of exaltation, its strongest possible placement in the entire zodiac. When Mercury joins the Sun, it forms a combination known for sharpening intellect and giving confident, articulate speech. Add an exalted Jupiter into the same mix, and the flavor of this transit becomes distinctly about knowledge, wisdom, learning, teaching, and guidance. Many people will find themselves drawn to books, courses, philosophical conversations, or simply giving and receiving good advice more than usual. The gathering becomes even more crowded between August 11th and 13th, when the Moon itself joins Mercury, Jupiter, and the Sun in Cancer, giving 4 planets sitting together in one sign, a fairly rare and concentrated setup. Right in the middle of this window, on August 12th, comes a total solar eclipse in Cancer, with the Sun and Moon meeting exactly in Ashlesha Nakshatra, the final nakshatra of Cancer, which happens to be ruled by Mercury itself. This is one of the more significant eclipses of the year precisely because it lands inside this stellium and touches Mercury's own nakshatra. Eclipses generally work like a reset button on whatever house and planets they touch, and this one is likely to trigger sudden developments, revelations, or turning points connected to communication, home, family, siblings, short journeys, and everyday decision-making, with the intensity depending on how closely it touches each person's personal birth chart. Through the 3 weeks of this transit, expect a noticeable rise in conversations centered on home and family. Talk about mother, property, real estate, renovation, or relocation is likely to come up more than usual. People may feel a pull toward nostalgia, old memories, comfort food, or reconnecting with their roots and their childhood. Written or spoken communication may carry more emotion and sentiment than usual, which can be wonderful for creative writing, storytelling, or heartfelt conversations, but can also cloud judgment in business or financial matters if it is not balanced with a practical check. The nakshatra Mercury travels through also colors the period. In the first couple of days it briefly touches the last portion of Punarvasu, ruled by Jupiter, adding a generous, big-picture tone right at the start. Through the middle stretch, which includes the eclipse window, it moves through Pushya, ruled by Saturn, bringing a more serious, duty-focused undertone even amid the emotional weather. In the final week, Mercury enters its own nakshatra, Ashlesha, and communication regains clarity and strategic sharpness right before Mercury exits Cancer for Leo. The general advice is simple. Enjoy the emotional warmth this transit brings to conversations and family life, but pause before signing important papers or taking permanent decisions purely on impulse, especially around the eclipse days of August 11th to 13th. Give it a day or two of practical thinking before acting on anything major. Students, teachers, writers, and anyone in communication or education fields are likely to feel the positive side of this transit strongly, thanks to the Sun, Mercury, and the exalted Jupiter involved. It's crucial to recognize that Mercury symbolizes communication influenced by surroundings, mirroring how conversations reflect one's company. In essence, Mercury's transit triggers curiosity regarding matters related to the sign and house it traverses, prompting information gathering and sharing, aligning with Mercury's fundamental nature to communicate and exchange knowledge. To assess the impact of this transit, it's crucial to consider your ascendant and moon signs. The ascendant sign provides insights into the timing of life events, while the moon sign reveals how you'll emotionally respond to these changes. Consider the position of your current Mahadasha Lord in your birth chart, as it can shed light on how these transits will influence the recurring themes of your current dasha period. A more precise understanding of the impact of this transit can be gained by examining Mercury's Ashtaka score in Cancer. Keep in mind that the effects of this transit will differ from person to person, contingent on Mercury's interaction with the planets in their individual birth charts, or its transit through the zodiac. It's also worth noting that individuals currently experiencing the influence of Mercury dasha may feel the effects of this transit more intensely. To understand how this transit may affect you based on your zodiac sign and the houses it transits, let's delve into those specifics. For Aries, Cancer falls in the 4th house, and that makes this Mercury transit a deeply home and family-centered period. The 4th house governs your mother, your house, your vehicles, your sense of emotional security, and the ground you stand on every day. With Mercury moving through this house from August 5th to August 22nd, expect conversations at home to pick up noticeably. You may find yourself talking more with family members about daily matters, discussing household plans, negotiating small decisions about the house, or simply spending more time in conversation around the dinner table than usual. This is also a good window for anything connected to property and real estate. If you have been thinking about buying, selling, renting or renovating a home, discussions and paperwork related to this are likely to move forward now. Mercury brings its natural skill with details, documents and negotiation into this house, so use this period to research, compare options and talk to agents, family members or advisors about property matters. Vehicle-related conversations, purchases or repairs may also come up, since the 4th house covers this area too. Keep your communication practical here, write things down, and do not rely purely on memory for important figures or terms during this period. Your mother, or a mother figure in your life, is likely to be more present in your conversations and daily life through these weeks. This could mean spending more time with her, having an important conversation with her, or her opinion mattering more in a decision you are making. Health of the mother or elderly family members at home is also worth a gentle check during this transit, simply because the 4th house rules over domestic well-being and comfort. Kitchen matters, home-cooked food and general comfort inside your house also get more attention now, and many Aries individuals will feel a pull toward quiet evenings at home rather than going out, which is a healthy way to use this energy. Since Mercury rules your 3rd and 6th houses during this period, the themes of those houses get expressed through this home-focused window. Your 3rd house covers courage, communication skills, siblings and short trips, while your 6th house covers daily work, health routines, and dealing with competition or disputes. In practical terms, this means conversations at home may often circle back to a sibling, a short trip you are planning, your work stress, or a health routine you are trying to build. You might find yourself discussing your job frustrations with family, or planning a short trip together with a sibling, all from the comfort of home conversations. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter are already present in your 4th house before Mercury arrives, and this combination is genuinely a favorable one for home and family life. Jupiter in its strongest placement here supports domestic happiness, wisdom within the family, and possibly good news connected to your house, land or mother. With Mercury joining this pair, expect the good news to be communicated to you directly, perhaps through a phone call, a message, or a family conversation. This is also a good period to seek advice from an elder or father figure about a domestic decision, since their guidance is likely to be particularly sound right now. Between August 11th and 13th, the moon also joins this gathering in your 4th house, bringing the total to 4 planets sitting together in the most personal, domestic part of your chart. Right in the middle of this window, on August 12th, a total solar eclipse takes place exactly in your 4th house. This is a significant trigger point for Aries individuals this year. It can bring a sudden development connected to your home, a change of residence, a big decision about property, or an emotional revelation involving your mother or family. Some of you may feel a strong pull to reconnect with your roots, your hometown, or childhood memories around these dates. Because eclipses tend to bring sudden and emotionally charged shifts, it is wise to avoid signing any major property document, taking a loan against your house, or making an irreversible decision about relocation exactly on or right around August 12th. Let the initial emotional wave settle for a couple of days, gather practical facts, and then decide. The urge to act quickly during an eclipse is strong, but patience here will serve you far better than speed. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer during this period, the tone shifts slightly. In the very first couple of days it touches Punarvasu, which carries a generous, big-picture quality, good for optimistic family planning. Through the middle stretch, including the eclipse days, it passes through Pushya, which brings a more serious and duty-bound tone, useful for handling responsibilities at home with discipline. In the final week, as Mercury enters Ashlesha, its own nakshatra, communication at home becomes sharper and more strategic, a good time to finalize decisions that were only being discussed earlier in the transit. Overall, this is a warm, talkative and domestically active period for Aries individuals. Use it to strengthen bonds at home, make real progress on property matters, and lean on family wisdom, especially around the middle of the transit. Just remember to pair the emotional comfort of these conversations with practical thinking before anything gets finalized, particularly during the eclipse window. Sibling support and short travel plans discussed now, even casually, are worth following up on once Mercury settles into its own nakshatra in the final week. If you work from home or run a business connected to household products, food, real estate or family services, this transit can bring genuinely useful conversations and leads, especially once Mercury reaches Ashlesha in the last few days. By the time Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd, most Aries individuals should have more clarity on a home or family matter that felt confusing or overly emotional in the first half of August. For Taurus, Cancer falls in the third house, which makes this Mercury transit a period of high communication, effort, and short movement. The third house governs courage, speaking up, siblings, short trips, hobbies, and the skills you use with your hands or your voice. With Mercury, its natural planet for this house, moving through here from August 5th to August 22nd, expect your calendar to fill up with calls, messages, meetings, and small errands. You may find it easier than usual to speak your mind, pitch an idea, or push through a task that needed a bit of courage. Siblings, especially younger ones, are likely to be more present in your life through this period. This could mean more conversation with them, working on something together, a short trip taken with a sibling, or simply needing to sort out a practical matter that involves them. If you have been putting off learning a new skill, starting a course, or picking up a hobby you enjoy, this is a genuinely supportive window to begin, since Mercury in its own area of rulership makes learning and picking up new information feel easier. Short trips connected to work, family, or personal errands are likely during these weeks. Keep travel documents and small logistics organized, since Mercury weak in dignity here can occasionally mean small mix-ups with timing or paperwork even while the overall energy for movement is good. Writing, content creation, marketing work, and any task involving persuasion or negotiation should flow well, particularly once Mercury reaches its own nakshatra Ashlesha in the final week of the transit. Neighbors, local errands, and everyday networking within your immediate circle also become more active, and a small conversation in passing could open a useful door. Since Mercury rules your second and fifth houses during this period, those themes get expressed through this communication-heavy window. Your second house covers wealth, family, savings, and speech, while your fifth house covers children, education, creativity, and romance. In practical terms, expect conversations with or about siblings to often circle back to family finances, or a creative and educational plan you are working on. You might discuss a course fee with a sibling, or talk about a child's education while planning a short trip, all woven into the busy communication pattern of this transit. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter sitting in your third house before Mercury arrives already brings courage, confidence, and a wiser tone to how you speak up and take initiative. With Mercury joining this pair, this becomes a genuinely strong window for putting yourself forward, whether that means pitching an idea at work, starting a new hobby publicly, or having an important conversation you have been avoiding. Jupiter's presence also supports learning something new with real depth rather than just surface-level information, so use this period for meaningful study rather than distraction. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your third house, and on August 12th the total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is a notable trigger point for your courage, your voice, and your connection with siblings. It could bring sudden news involving a sibling, an unexpected short trip, or a moment where you have to speak up quickly about something important. Some Taurus individuals may feel an emotional surge around expressing themselves, wanting to write, post or speak about something that has been building up inside. Because eclipses can push people toward hasty words or impulsive short trips, be mindful around August 12th about what you say in the heat of the moment, and double-check travel or logistics plans made on that exact day. A message sent in frustration during this window is harder to take back than usual, so a short pause before hitting send will serve you well. If a sibling brings you sudden news right around the eclipse, whether good or difficult, give yourself a little time before reacting or making promises, since the emotional charge of an eclipse can make things feel bigger or more urgent than they truly are. On the work front, Taurus individuals involved in sales, marketing, writing, teaching, transport, or anything requiring day-to-day communication should find this period genuinely productive, since Mercury is operating in exactly the house it naturally governs. Meetings that felt stuck may suddenly move forward, and a proposal or pitch delivered with confidence during the Sun and Jupiter influence has a good chance of landing well. Financial conversations connected to siblings, such as a shared expense, a joint purchase, or repaying or lending a small amount, are also likely to surface, and it is worth keeping these practical and written down rather than left as a verbal understanding. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early days in Punarvasu bring an optimistic, generous tone to conversations, useful for encouraging a sibling or student. The middle stretch in Pushya, which includes the eclipse, brings more seriousness and responsibility to your communications, good for handling a duty-bound conversation with patience. In the final week, Mercury enters Ashlesha, its own nakshatra, and your speech and writing become noticeably sharper and more persuasive, an excellent window to close a deal, finish a course module, or publish something you have been working on. Overall, this transit rewards Taurus individuals who stay active, keep talking, and use their voice, while asking for a small amount of care around the eclipse days so that courage does not tip into impulsiveness. By the time Mercury moves into Leo on August 22nd, most of you should feel that a stuck conversation has opened up, a short journey has been completed, or a new skill has taken root enough to keep building on. For Gemini, Cancer falls in the second house, and this transit carries extra weight because Mercury is your own ruling planet, so wherever it goes, your personal story goes with it. The second house governs wealth, family, savings, speech, and the values you hold close, so this transit turns much of your attention toward money, family conversations, and how you express yourself in words. From August 5th to August 22nd, expect finances, food, family reputation, and the way you speak to become central themes in your daily life. Even though Mercury is weak by sign here, since Cancer is ruled by the Moon, which is not naturally friendly to Mercury, the fact that it is your own planet still gives you a personal stake in everything happening in this house. You may notice your words carrying more emotional weight than usual, both when you speak and when you listen. This is a good period to soften business or family conversations with a bit more warmth, though you should still keep an eye on facts and figures rather than deciding purely on feeling. Financial matters are likely to move during this period, whether that means income coming in, expenses connected to family, or serious conversations about savings and future planning. Since the second house also covers food and the voice, this can be a good time for anything involving your speaking skills, whether that is public speaking, recording, teaching, or simply having an important conversation you have been putting off. Family gatherings, meals shared together, and conversations at the dinner table carry unusual significance now, and old family patterns around money or communication may surface for you to look at honestly, including habits inherited from parents about spending or saving. Since Mercury rules your first and fourth houses during this period, your personal identity and your home life get pulled directly into whatever happens in your second house. This transit is genuinely personal, touching your self-image, your decisions, and your general direction. Your fourth house covers home and mother, so expect home and family-related topics to blend naturally into financial and value-based conversations, for example discussing household expenses with your mother, or making a family decision about property that also touches your personal finances. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already present in your second house before Mercury arrives make this one of the favorable periods of the year for you, since your own planet is joining with a strongly placed benefic nearby. This combination supports a rise in respect within family and community, sweeter and more persuasive speech, and possibly a genuine gain connected to savings, family wealth, or a family business. Many Gemini individuals will find people listening to them with more attention and taking their words more seriously during these weeks. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins the gathering directly in your second house, your own personal planet's house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse falls exactly here. Because your first house Lord Mercury sits right in the middle of this eclipse, this is one of the more personally significant eclipse days of the year for you. It can bring a sudden financial development, an important family conversation reaching ahead, or a moment where words spoken carry lasting consequences. Choose your words with extra care on August 12th itself, avoid harsh statements in the heat of an argument, and postpone any major financial signature until a day or two after the eclipse has passed. For those working in sales, communication, media, teaching or any Mercury-ruled profession, this period can bring a genuine boost in reputation and income, since your ruling planet is well supported by the Sun and an exalted Jupiter even while technically weak by sign. Business owners among Gemini individuals may find a good opportunity connected to family wealth, a family business, or a partnership involving relatives. It is also a favorable window to review your budget honestly, since the second house governs accumulated resources, and the discipline of Pusya Nakshatra in the middle of this transit supports practical financial planning rather than wishful thinking. Pay some attention to your throat and voice during this period as well, since the second house also governs this part of the body, and Mercury weak in dignity here can occasionally show up as minor throat irritation, a cold, or simply needing to rest your voice after heavy use. Staying hydrated and not overusing your voice on the eclipse day itself is a small practical precaution worth taking, and it is generally wise to avoid overpromising verbally on August 12th, since words spoken then tend to stick longer than you expect. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring optimism to family and money talk, the middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for discipline and careful budgeting, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your speech and financial judgment considerably, making the last few days of this transit an excellent time to finalize a savings plan, close a deal, or have the honest family conversation you have been rehearsing in your head. Overall, treat this as a personally significant, generally rewarding transit for Gemini individuals, since it involves your own ruling planet moving through a house of wealth and family alongside two strong benefics. Pair its emotional generosity and financial promise with a level head around the eclipse days, and by August 22nd, when Mercury moves into Leo, you should notice a clearer sense of where you stand financially and how a key family relationship has shifted for the better. For Cancer, this entire transit happens in your own first house, which means everything described in the general introduction applies to you in the most direct and personal way possible. The first house governs your body, your personality, your general health and the overall direction of your life, so Mercury moving through here from August 5th to August 22nd puts communication, thinking and decision-making right at the center of your own identity for these 3 weeks. Since Cancer is your own sign, ruled by your own moon, and Mercury is considered an unfriendly guest here, you may notice your thinking becoming more emotionally driven than usual during this period. Decisions that would normally come from logic might start coming from feeling instead. This is not necessarily a bad thing, since it can make you more intuitive, more in touch with what you truly want, and more persuasive when you speak from the heart. The caution is simply to notice when emotion is overriding a decision that really needs a clear head, particularly anything involving money, contracts, or long-term commitments. You are likely to become a more central point of conversation among family and friends during this transit, with people coming to you for opinions, updates, or simply to talk things through. Your own appearance, communication style and general presence may get more attention than usual, which can work strongly in your favor for interviews, presentations, first meetings or anything where making a good personal impression matters. This is a good period to update your resume, refresh how you present yourself online, or simply have the honest self-reflective conversations that help you understand your own direction better. Even small changes, like a new haircut, a change in how you dress, or simply speaking with more confidence, tend to land well with others right now. Since Mercury rules your 12th and 3rd houses during this period, those themes get pulled directly into your sense of self. Your 12th house covers expenses, foreign connections, rest and spiritual matters, while your 3rd house covers courage, siblings, communication and short trips. In practical terms, this means your personal reflections during this transit may often involve questions about travel abroad, winding down an old chapter, or finding the courage to speak up about something. Conversations about a sibling or a short trip may also become tied to how you see yourself moving forward, and a small act of courage taken now could matter more than it seems at the time. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your first house before Mercury arrives is a genuinely strong and favorable combination for you this year. It supports visibility, confidence, being seen as wise or helpful by others, and a general boost to how people perceive you. With Mercury joining this pair, you become someone others actively want to talk to and learn from during this period, whether socially or professionally. This is an excellent window to put yourself forward, share your knowledge, or step into a role that requires you to be the one guiding a conversation. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon, your own chart ruler, joins this gathering directly on your first house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is one of the most significant astrological trigger points of the year for Cancer individuals, since it lands precisely on your own sign and involves your own ruling planet. It can bring a real personal turning point, a shift in self-image, an important health matter needing attention, or a major decision about your own direction in life. Some of you may feel unusually emotional, reflective, or even a little disoriented right around these 3 days, which is a natural response to such a concentrated alignment happening on your own first house. Given the weight of this eclipse, it is best treated as a time to observe rather than to act. Avoid making a big, irreversible decision about your career, your appearance, a relationship, or your health purely in the emotional heat of August 11th to 13th. Let the dust settle for a couple of days, talk to people you trust, and then move forward once your thinking feels clearer. Whatever insight or realization comes to you during this window is likely to be genuinely important, so treat it seriously, just do not rush to act on it immediately. It is also worth paying a little extra attention to your physical health and daily routine right around the eclipse days, since the first house governs the body directly, and such a concentrated planetary gathering on your first house can sometimes coincide with tiredness, minor illness, or simply a need for extra rest. Do not ignore small signals from your body during this window, and treat rest as productive rather than something to feel guilty about. A short break, even a single quiet day around August 12th, can help you process the emotional intensity of this period far better than pushing through it. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring a generous, hopeful tone to how you see yourself. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse asks for patience and quiet strength, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, brings back sharpness, clarity, and strategic thinking right as Mercury prepares to leave your sign. By the time Mercury moves into Leo on August 22nd, most Cancer individuals should feel considerably steadier and clearer than they did during the intense middle stretch of this transit, with a genuine sense of having reset something important about how they see themselves and move through the world. For Leo, Cancer falls in the 12th house, which makes this Mercury transit a quieter, more private and introspective period compared to the loud, public energy Leo individuals usually prefer. The 12th house governs expenses, foreign connections, rest, sleep, spirituality, and matters that happen away from public view. With Mercury moving through here from August 5th to August 22nd, expect your communication to shift behind the scenes, in private conversations, quiet planning, or connections with people who are physically far away from you. This can be a genuinely useful period for anything involving foreign countries, whether that means communication with someone abroad, planning an international trip, working on a visa or relocation matter, or simply learning about a different culture or language. Business dealings with overseas clients or partners are also likely to move forward now, often through written communication like emails or messages rather than face-to-face meetings. If your work involves remote clients, exports, or online business with an international angle, this transit generally supports it well, and a message from far away could carry more importance than it first appears to. Expenses connected to communication tools, travel, subscriptions, courses, or charitable giving may increase during this period, so it is worth keeping a slightly closer eye on your spending even while enjoying the benefits this transit brings in other areas. This is also a favorable window for spiritual reading, meditation, quiet retreats, or simply switching off from the noisy, public side of life that Leo individuals are usually drawn to. Journaling or private writing can be especially rewarding now, even if you do not plan to share it with anyone, and several of you may find real comfort in simply putting scattered thoughts down on paper during these weeks. Since Mercury rules your 11th and 2nd houses during this period, those themes get pulled into this quieter, more private window. Your 11th house covers gains, income, friends and networks, while your 2nd house covers wealth, family and speech. In practical terms, this means private conversations during this transit may often circle back to money matters, a friend's situation, or a family financial decision, but handled quietly rather than announced publicly. You might find yourself helping a friend behind the scenes, or having a private financial conversation with family rather than a public one, and this quiet approach tends to work better for you than any public display right now. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 12th house before Mercury arrives generally supports closure of old matters, spiritual growth, and genuinely positive foreign connections, even though the 12th house can sometimes bring a need for rest. With Mercury joining this combination, expect meaningful private conversations, good news arriving through a message or a call rather than in person, or a chance to finally close a chapter that has been quietly weighing on you. This can also be an excellent period for research, study, or working on something in private before revealing it to the world, and the results of that quiet effort may surprise you later. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 12th house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is likely to bring a private matter to a natural close, or reveal something that has been hidden or unspoken for a while. It could involve an unexpected expense, news from someone far away, or simply the end of a phase you have been quietly carrying without telling many people. Rest is genuinely important around these dates, so resist the urge to overextend yourself socially or professionally right around the eclipse window. Because the 12th house governs expenses, be cautious about committing to a large payment, donation, or overseas transaction exactly on or right around August 12th, since eclipse timing can cloud judgment about value and necessity. Wait a couple of days after the eclipse before finalizing anything involving significant money leaving your hands. Sleep quality and general rest also deserve attention during this transit, since the 12th house governs both. If you have been running on very little sleep or ignoring signs of exhaustion, this period will likely make that harder to ignore, sometimes through minor fatigue, vivid dreams, or simply a stronger pull towards solitude than usual. Rather than fighting this pull, it is genuinely wise to lean into it a little, use the quiet time to think clearly, and avoid overloading your schedule with commitments you do not actually have the energy for. For Leo individuals working in fields connected to hospitals, charitable organizations, spirituality, research, or any behind-the-scenes support role, this transit can be particularly productive, since Mercury's communication skills combine well with the private, service-oriented nature of the 12th house. Writers working on something personal, counselors, therapists, and anyone doing quiet one-on-one work with people may find this a fruitful stretch, even if the results are not immediately visible to others. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring a hopeful tone to private reflection. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse asks for quiet discipline and rest, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, brings unexpected clarity to a private matter just before Mercury exits into Leo, your own first house, on August 22nd. Overall, treat this as a period to slow down, reflect honestly, tend to unfinished private business, and trust that the quiet work done now will support the more visible, energetic period waiting for you once Mercury reaches your own sign and puts you back in the spotlight where you naturally belong. For Virgo, Cancer falls in the 11th house, and since Mercury is also your own sign lord, this transit carries a personal significance beyond just the house it activates. The 11th house governs gains, income, friends, networks, elder siblings, and the fulfillment of long-held wishes, so from August 5th to August 22nd, expect your social circle, your income, and your sense of forward progress to become unusually active talking points in your life. This is generally a favorable, socially active period for you. Group conversations, community events, professional networking, and catching up with friends you have not spoken to in a while are all likely to increase. Since Mercury is your first house lord here, your own voice and opinions tend to carry extra weight in these group settings, and people may come to you more than usual for advice or a practical solution to a shared problem. This is a good window to reconnect with an old friend, join a group aligned with your interests, or simply put yourself out there socially in a way that supports your longer-term goals. Income and gains are a major theme of this transit. Conversations about a raise, a new income stream, a bonus, or money owed to you from earlier work are likely to surface now, often through a friend, a professional contact, or a group setting rather than a formal one-on-one meeting. Since the 11th house also governs elder siblings, expect more contact or support from an older sibling during this period, whether that is practical help, useful advice, or simply more conversation than usual, and this bond may feel notably warmer than it has in recent months. Since Mercury rules your 10th and 1st houses during this period, your career and your personal identity get pulled directly into this socially active window. Your 10th house covers career, status, and public image, while your 1st house is your own self. In practical terms, this means networking conversations during this transit are likely to circle back to your career, a professional opportunity, or how you are presenting yourself publicly. A friend or contact could genuinely open a career door for you now, so it is worth being visible and communicative in professional circles during these weeks, rather than waiting quietly for something to land in your lap. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 11th house before Mercury arrives make this one of the stronger transits of the year for income and the fulfillment of a long-held goal. Jupiter here supports genuine, lasting gains rather than quick or unstable ones, and with Mercury joining this pair, the good news is likely to reach you through direct communication, a phone call, a message, or a conversation with a friend or senior colleague. This combination also favors elder sibling support and recognition within your professional or social network. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 11th house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This can bring a sudden and significant gain, an unexpected change within your friend circle or professional network, or important income-related news arriving quickly and somewhat out of the blue. Some Virgo individuals may find a long-standing wish suddenly moving toward fulfillment right around these dates, while others may notice a shift in who belongs in their close circle, with certain connections fading and new ones stepping forward. Because eclipses can create a rush of excitement, avoid committing to a career-changing decision, a new business partnership, or a significant financial arrangement with a friend purely on the emotional high of this window. Verify the practical details once the initial excitement settles, ideally a few days after August 12th, before signing anything or making a firm commitment. It is also worth setting aside part of any sudden gain rather than spending all of it immediately, since the same eclipse energy that brings quick income can also bring quick, less necessary expenses if you are not paying attention. 4. Virgo individuals currently job hunting or seeking a promotion. This transit deserves special attention, since your 1st house lord sits in the house of gains while your career house receives its influence through rulership. Updating your professional profile, reaching out to old colleagues, and being open about what you are looking for can genuinely pay off now, more than quietly waiting for opportunities to appear on their own. Group interviews, panel discussions, or team-based professional settings are also likely to favor you during this period, since your natural communication strengths get extra support from this alignment. If you run your own business or work independently, look closely at referrals and word of mouth during this transit, since the 11th house governs exactly this kind of organic, network-driven growth. A satisfied client or an existing contact recommending you to someone new is a realistic and likely outcome of this period, so it is worth staying visible, responsive, and easy to recommend throughout these 3 weeks. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring optimism to your social and financial outlook. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse asks for grounded, practical follow-through on any opportunity that appears, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your networking instincts and your ability to convert a conversation into a concrete result just before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this is a genuinely rewarding transit for Virgo individuals who stay socially active, communicate their goals clearly, and lean on their networks with a healthy mix of warmth and practical judgment. For Libra, Cancer falls in the 10th house, which makes this Mercury transit a strongly career-centered period. The 10th house governs your profession, your public image, your status, and your dealings with authority figures like a boss or the government. So from August 5th to August 22nd, expect work-related communication, decisions, and conversations to become the main focus of your daily life. Meetings, presentations, negotiations, and everyday communication with your boss, clients, or business authorities are likely to increase noticeably during this period. Mercury's natural skill with details, language, and quick thinking supports you well in professional settings now, provided you keep the emotional undertone of this transit from clouding purely factual, career-related conversations. This is a good window to update reports, follow up on pending professional matters, or simply be more visible and vocal about your work than usual, since silence tends to work against you more than usual during this stretch. Conversations connected to higher education tied to your career, or work involving foreign countries, travel, or long-distance dealings are also likely to surface, since Mercury rules your 9th house during this period alongside your 12th. Your ninth house covers fortune, father, higher learning, philosophy and long journeys, while your 12th house covers foreign connections, expenses and matters handled quietly. In practical terms, this means professional discussions during this transit may often circle back to further study connected to your field, a foreign client or opportunity, or guidance from a mentor, father figure or someone senior to you, and this guidance is likely to prove more accurate than it first seems. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 10th house before Mercury arrives is a genuinely strong and prominent combination for your career this year. This placement supports recognition, a possible promotion-related conversation, being seen as knowledgeable or wise in professional circles, and generally elevated visibility with people in positions of authority. With Mercury joining this pair, expect this recognition to arrive through direct communication, whether that is praise from a superior, a public mention, media attention, or simply people talking about your work in a positive light. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 10th house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is a fairly major professional trigger point for Libra individuals this year, since the 10th house governs career and public standing so directly. It could bring a sudden shift in your job situation, an important announcement connected to your role, a change in reporting structure, or a notable reputation-related development, for better or occasionally requiring careful handling if the news feels unsettling at first. Because career decisions made in the heat of an eclipse can feel more urgent and dramatic than they actually are, avoid resigning, making a public statement about your work, or accepting a major offer purely on impulse exactly around August 12th. Give yourself a short cooling-off period, talk to someone you trust professionally, and then decide once the initial emotional charge has settled. If the eclipse brings genuinely good news, there is no harm in celebrating it. Just make sure any formal commitment, contract, or public statement is reviewed with a clear head before you sign or say anything you cannot take back later. Your relationship with authority figures, including your father or a senior mentor, may also come into sharper focus during this transit, since both your 10th and 9th houses connect to these figures. A conversation with your father or a mentor around this period could carry more weight or clarity than usual, and it is worth listening carefully rather than dismissing their input, even if it is delivered a bit bluntly. Some Libra individuals may also receive an invitation to teach, present, or share their expertise publicly. During this window, which is worth accepting given how favorably this transit supports being seen as capable and knowledgeable, professionals in fields connected to law, government, consulting, education, publishing, or any role requiring public trust and authority should find this transit particularly supportive, since the 10th house energy here is amplified by both Mercury's communication strength and Jupiter's wisdom. If you have been considering a certification, a further qualification, or an application connected to your career, this period generally favors starting or progressing that process, especially once Mercury reaches its own nakshatra Ashlesha in the final week, when your application or proposal is likely to read more convincingly than it did earlier in the transit. It is also worth paying attention to how you communicate with colleagues and subordinates during this period, not just with those above you. The warmth this transit brings can help you build genuine goodwill within your team if you use it consciously, rather than letting emotional undertones create unnecessary friction in routine workplace exchanges. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring an optimistic, big-picture tone to career conversations. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for discipline, patience and careful handling of authority-related matters, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your professional communication considerably, making the last few days of this transit a strong window to finalize a proposal, close a professional conversation, or present yourself with real clarity before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this is one of the more career-significant transits of the season for Libra individuals, rewarding visibility, clear communication and a calm approach to whatever the eclipse days bring, with steady follow-through mattering more than any single dramatic moment. For Scorpio, Cancer falls in the 9th house, which makes this Mercury transit one of the more genuinely fortunate and expansive periods of the year for you. The 9th house governs fortune, father, higher learning, philosophy, religion, long-distance travel and guidance from teachers or mentors, so from August 5th to August 22nd, expect conversations, decisions and opportunities connected to these areas to become unusually active. This is a strong window for anything connected to higher education. If you have been considering further studies, a certification, an entrance exam, or applying to a program abroad, discussions and paperwork around this are likely to move forward well now. Mercury's sharp communication ability combines with the ninth house's natural inclination toward learning and meaning, making this a good period to absorb new information, write academic or philosophical material, or simply have deep, satisfying conversations about ideas that matter to you and the direction your life is heading in. Your father, or a father figure, guru or mentor in your life, is likely to be more present or more influential in your decisions during this period. This could mean receiving important advice, having a meaningful conversation with him, or simply feeling his support more strongly than usual. Long-distance travel, whether for work, education, pilgrimage or personal reasons, is also a strong possibility during this transit, and if you already had travel plans, this period tends to support them moving forward smoothly, often with fewer complications than you might expect. Since Mercury rules your 8th and 11th houses during this period, those themes get pulled into this fortunate, learning-oriented window. Your 8th house covers transformation, shared resources, insurance, in-laws and sudden events, while your 11th house covers gains, income and friendships. In practical terms, this means conversations about higher learning or travel during this transit may often circle back to a shared financial matter, an insurance or inheritance-related topic, or income and gains connected to friends or your wider network. A discussion about a course fee, a joint investment, or money coming in through a contact is likely to be woven into the bigger picture conversations of this period. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 9th house before Mercury arrives is genuinely one of the positive placements this entire transit season brings to any sign, since Jupiter is naturally the ruler of this house and sits here in its own sign of exaltation. This combination supports real luck, blessings from your father or a mentor, a meaningful opportunity connected to higher study or publishing, and general good fortune touching your life. With Mercury joining this pair, expect this luck to be communicated to you directly and clearly, perhaps through an acceptance letter, a message from a mentor, or simply good news arriving through conversation. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 9th house, and on August 12th a total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is likely to bring a fortune-related event of real significance, possibly a sudden opportunity connected to education, travel or your father, or unexpected news that changes your plans in this area. Keep your important documents, especially anything connected to travel or education, organized and ready around these dates, since things may move faster than expected once this eclipse activates your house of fortune. Because the natural optimism of an exalted Jupiter combined with an eclipse can sometimes tip into overconfidence, be careful not to let this lucky feeling push you into overcommitting financially, especially regarding 8th house matters like loans, insurance or shared money, purely because everything else feels favorable right now. Verify facts and terms carefully before signing anything financial during this window, even while trusting the genuinely positive direction this transit is taking you in. For students and anyone pursuing further qualifications, this is genuinely one of the better transits of the year to expect favorable results, admissions or breakthroughs in understanding, particularly if the effort has already been put in over recent months. Teachers, publishers, writers, spiritual guides and anyone working with ideas, philosophy or long-distance communication should also find this period notably productive, since the combination of Mercury, Sun and exalted Jupiter in this house supports being seen as someone worth learning from, and your words are likely to carry more authority than usual in these weeks. If you have been planning a pilgrimage, a religious observance, or simply a trip that holds personal meaning beyond just leisure, this transit supports it strongly, especially once Mercury moves into its own nakshatra Ashlesha in the final week. Conversations with religious or spiritual teachers, or simply time spent reading philosophical or spiritual material, are likely to feel unusually rewarding and clarifying right now, offering genuine perspective on questions you have been sitting with for a while. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring real generosity and philosophical depth to your outlook. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse asks for grounded discipline even amid good fortune, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your judgment about learning and travel opportunities considerably. Right before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this is one of the better transits of the season for Scorpio individuals, and it deserves to be met with genuine gratitude alongside sensible, careful follow-through on the opportunities it brings, since the blessings arriving now tend to reward those who act on them thoughtfully rather than those who simply wait for more to arrive on their own. For Sagittarius, Cancer falls in the 8th house, which makes this Mercury transit a deeper, more private and research-oriented period than usual. The 8th house governs transformation, shared resources, insurance, inheritance, secrets and sudden events, so from August 5th to August 22nd, expect your conversations and thinking to turn toward matters that are usually handled quietly, carefully and away from public view. This is a period where research, investigation and detailed technical work tend to go well. If your work involves data, analysis, insurance, taxation, investment research or anything requiring you to dig beneath the surface of a subject, Mercury's presence here supports this kind of focused, careful thinking. Conversations about shared finances, a joint account, a partner's income, or an inheritance-related matter are also likely to surface now, often requiring more detail and paperwork than a typical conversation. Because the 8th house also governs sudden events, do not be surprised if something unexpected comes up during this period, whether that is a surprising piece of information, a sudden financial matter, or news that requires you to adjust your plans quickly. Mercury here helps you communicate through these sudden shifts with more clarity than you might expect, even if the underlying situation itself carries some intensity. Conversations with in-laws or extended family connected to shared property or money may also become more active now. Since Mercury rules your 7th and 10th houses during this period, those themes get pulled into this private, intense window. Your 7th house covers partnership, marriage and business dealings, while your 10th house covers career and public status. In practical terms, this means private, behind-the-scenes conversations during this transit may often circle back to your spouse or business partner, or a career-related matter that you are handling quietly rather than announcing publicly. A serious conversation with a partner about a joint financial decision, or a quiet career move being planned before it becomes public, both fit the flavor of this period well. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 8th house before Mercury arrives softens what could otherwise be a heavier transit considerably, since Jupiter exalted here offers real protection against major setbacks and can even indicate a genuine gain through shared resources, insurance, or an inheritance-related matter. With Mercury joining this pair, expect any such gain or important information to be communicated to you clearly, and this can also be a favorable period for learning something technical or specialized in real depth, since the 8th house also governs research and hidden knowledge. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 8th house, and on August 12th the total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is likely to bring a sudden or transformative event, possibly connected to shared finances, a partner's income, an insurance or inheritance matter, or a piece of information that had been kept quiet finally coming to light. Keeping important documents, policies and shared account details organized and up to date around these dates is a sensible, practical step, since 8th house eclipses often coincide with paperwork suddenly needing attention. Because 8th house matters carry more weight than usual right around an eclipse, avoid signing a joint financial agreement, taking a new loan, or finalizing an insurance or inheritance-related decision exactly on or right around August 12th. Give yourself a few days after the eclipse to review the details calmly with anyone else involved before committing. If a secret or piece of hidden information does surface during this window, resist the urge to react immediately, and take time to understand the full picture before responding. Health matters connected to the 8th house, including anything requiring deeper investigation such as tests or specialist consultations, are also worth attending to if they come up during this period, since Mercury's presence here can help you get clear, useful information rather than vague answers. It is worth trusting your instinct if something feels like it needs a closer look, and following through on a checkup rather than postponing it purely because the rest of life feels busy right now. For Sagittarius individuals working in finance, insurance, research, taxation, psychology, or any field involving other people's resources, secrets, or transformation, this transit can be genuinely productive despite its quieter, more private nature. Deals or negotiations that require patience and attention to fine print tend to move in your favor now, especially once Mercury reaches Ashlesha in the final stretch of the transit. This is also a reasonable window to review old insurance policies, pending inheritance matters, or joint accounts that have not been looked at carefully in a while, simply to make sure everything is in order before any unexpected development forces the issue. Relationships with in-laws or extended family connected through marriage may also see more contact than usual, whether that involves a shared property decision, a family obligation, or simply catching up after a period of distance. Approach these conversations with patience, since the emotional undertone of this transit can make otherwise simple family matters feel more loaded than they truly are. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring a philosophical, big-picture tone even to intense subjects. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for discipline and careful handling of shared resources, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your research instincts and your ability to get to the bottom of a hidden matter. Right before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this transit rewards Sagittarius individuals who approach private, financial, and transformative matters with patience, thorough documentation, and calm follow-through rather than rushing decisions during the more intense days of the eclipse window. For Capricorn, Cancer falls in the 7th house, which makes this Mercury transit a strongly relationship and partnership-centered period. The 7th house governs your spouse, business partners, close one-on-one relationships, and public dealings in general. So from August 5th to August 22nd, expect conversations with a partner, whether personal or professional, to become noticeably more frequent and more emotionally significant. If you are married or in a committed relationship, this is a period where communication with your partner takes on real importance. Discussions about shared plans, daily life, or simply catching up more deeply than usual are likely, and Mercury's presence here generally supports honest, detailed conversation, provided both sides remember to balance emotional expression with practical clarity. If you are single, this can be a period of meaningful conversation with someone new, a negotiation or introduction that carries genuine relationship potential, or simply more thought going into what you want from a partnership, and that clarity tends to serve you well once this transit passes. On the professional side, business negotiations, contracts, and conversations with clients or partners are likely to move forward during this transit. Mercury supports clear terms and detailed discussion, which is useful for anyone finalizing a business agreement or working out the fine print of a deal. Public dealings in general, including anything involving customer relationships, consultations, or client-facing work, tend to go smoothly now, since Mercury naturally supports this kind of back-and-forth communication, and a difficult client conversation may resolve more easily than expected. Since Mercury rules your 6th and 9th houses during this period, those themes get pulled directly into your partnership conversations. Your 6th house covers competition, disputes, health, and daily work, while your 9th house covers fortune, father, higher learning, and travel. In practical terms, this means conversations with a partner or associate during this transit may often circle back to a work-related stress, a health matter, or a disagreement that needs resolving, but also to bigger picture topics like a shared trip, further study, or guidance from a father figure or mentor involving the relationship itself. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 7th house before Mercury arrives is a genuinely favorable combination for partnerships this year, since Jupiter here brings wisdom, generosity, and good fortune into how you relate to significant others and business associates. With Mercury joining this pair, expect this favorable energy to show up through direct, clear communication, whether that is a good business deal being discussed openly, a respected and capable partner entering the picture, or an existing relationship being elevated through honest, wise conversation. Some Capricorn individuals may find an engagement, a formal business partnership, or a significant public announcement connected to a relationship happening around this period. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 7th house, and on August 12th the total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is a notable relationship trigger point for Capricorn individuals this year, since the 7th house governs both marriage and business partnership so directly. It could bring a sudden and significant decision connected to a partner, an important announcement, the resolution of a long-standing disagreement, or in some cases the beginning of an entirely new partnership. Be mindful during these 3 days, since emotions connected to relationships tend to run higher than usual. Because eclipse-driven relationship decisions can feel urgent and dramatic in the moment, avoid finalizing a major partnership agreement, making a big commitment, or ending an important relationship purely on the emotional intensity of August 11th to 13th. Give yourself and the other person involved a short period to think clearly once the initial wave passes, and revisit the conversation with a calmer head a few days later before anything is made final or put in writing. For Capricorn individuals running a business or working closely with clients, this period offers a genuine opportunity to strengthen existing professional relationships and attract new ones, especially given how favorably the Sun and exalted Jupiter support this house right now. Take the time to reach out to existing clients or partners directly, since personal, warm communication tends to land better than formal, distant messaging during this transit. A referral, recommendation, or word-of-mouth introduction connected to a partner is also a realistic possibility worth staying open to. If there has been ongoing tension or an unresolved disagreement in a significant relationship, this transit offers a genuinely good window to address it honestly, provided the conversation happens with patience rather than in the heat of the eclipse days themselves. Mercury's communication skill combined with Jupiter's wisdom generally supports finding a fair, workable resolution rather than a one-sided outcome, so it is worth approaching such a conversation with a spirit of genuine compromise. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring warmth and generosity to how you relate to others. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for patience and steady handling of relationship matters, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens negotiation and communication with partners considerably. Right before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this is a genuinely significant transit for Capricorn individuals when it comes to relationships and partnerships, rewarding open, honest communication paired with a little patience around the eclipse days, and the effort you put into a relationship now is likely to be remembered well beyond these 3 weeks. For Aquarius, Cancer falls in the 6th house, which makes this Mercury transit a period strongly focused on daily work, health, and dealing with obstacles or competition. The 6th house governs your everyday tasks, disputes, debts, service, and general well-being. So from August 5th to August 22nd, expect communication connected to your job, your health routine, and any ongoing disagreements to become noticeably more active. This is a period where day-to-day work conversations increase, whether that means more emails, more meetings, more coordination with colleagues, or simply a busier daily schedule overall. Mercury's natural sharpness supports handling detailed tasks, paperwork, and routine problem-solving well during this transit, and this can be a genuinely useful window for sorting out a pending dispute, negotiating a debt repayment, or simply catching up on work that has been piling up, especially anything that has been sitting untouched for longer than it should have. Health-related conversations, whether about your own body or someone close to you, are also likely to come up more than usual, since the 6th house governs daily well-being directly. This is a sensible time to pay attention to routines around diet, sleep, and exercise, and to actually follow through on a health-related conversation rather than just talking about it. If you have a pending medical appointment or test, this transit generally supports getting clear, useful information from it, so it is worth scheduling anything you have been postponing. Since Mercury rules your 5th and 8th houses during this period, those themes get pulled into this work and health-focused window. Your 5th house covers children, education, creativity, and romance, while your 8th house covers transformation, shared resources, and sudden events. In practical terms, this means work-related conversations during this transit may often circle back to a child's education, a creative project you are trying to fit around your job, or a shared financial or insurance matter that needs handling alongside your daily responsibilities. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 6th house before Mercury arrives is actually a favorable combination for overcoming obstacles and competitors, since this placement brings strength, confidence, and wisdom into how you handle disputes, health matters, and daily challenges. With Mercury joining this pair, expect this strength to show up through clear, effective communication, whether that means winning an argument with solid reasoning, resolving a legal or workplace matter favorably, or getting real, useful medical guidance rather than vague answers. Those in service-oriented, health-related, or competitive fields may find this a particularly good period for gaining respect and recognition. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 6th house, and on August 12th the total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This can bring a sudden development connected to health, a workplace dispute, or debt that has been sitting unresolved, and it often works in your favor, either through a sudden resolution or through a clear signal that action is needed. Some Aquarius individuals may notice a minor health issue needing attention right around these dates, which is worth taking seriously rather than dismissing, since the 6th house eclipse often works best when it prompts a genuine checkup rather than being ignored. Because eclipses can bring things to a head quickly, this is generally not the best window to start a brand new dispute or legal battle purely out of frustration on August 12th itself, but an existing, long-pending disagreement may find real movement toward resolution during this window if you approach it calmly rather than aggressively. For Aquarius individuals working in healthcare, wellness, law, administration, or any service-oriented field, this transit tends to bring genuine professional satisfaction, since your daily competence is likely to be noticed and appreciated more than usual right now. Colleagues or supervisors may lean on you for practical solutions, and your ability to stay organized under pressure becomes a real asset during these 3 weeks. It is also a reasonable time to review your work processes and clear out small inefficiencies that have been quietly costing you time. If you have been managing a debt, a loan repayment, or a financial obligation connected to daily expenses, this transit generally supports getting clearer terms or making genuine progress on it, especially through direct, well-documented communication rather than vague verbal agreements. Keep a written record of anything discussed or agreed upon during this period, since the combination of Mercury and an eclipse can sometimes make people forget the specifics of what was actually promised. Pets, if you have them, also fall under the 6th house in many traditions, so do not be surprised if a pet-related matter, whether a health checkup or simply more attention needed, comes up during this transit as well. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring a generous, understanding tone to workplace and health-related conversations. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for discipline and consistency in daily routines, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your problem-solving instincts considerably, making it a strong window to finally close out a pending task or dispute before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, prioritize your health, stay consistent with daily routines, and use this transit's communication strength to resolve rather than escalate whatever obstacles come your way, since patience paired with clear communication tends to serve you far better here than force. For Pisces, Cancer falls in the 5th house, which makes this Mercury transit one of the warmer, more creative and personally enjoyable periods of this transit season. The 5th house governs children, education, creativity, romance, intelligence and speculative matters, so from August 5th to August 22nd, expect conversations and activities connected to these areas to become genuinely active and rewarding. If you have children, this is a period where communication with them, their education, or their achievements are likely to become a major focus. Conversations about school, a course, a project, or simply spending more quality time together tend to increase now, and this generally feels warm and fulfilling rather than stressful. If you do not have children, this 5th house energy can show up instead through creative projects, hobbies, or activities that make you feel playful and expressive. Romantic matters also come into focus during this transit. If you are in a relationship, expect more conversation, more emotional openness, and generally sweeter communication with your partner. If you are single, this can be a period of meaningful romantic conversation, a new connection forming, or simply more clarity about what you want from romance. Creative work of any kind, whether writing, art, music, or content creation, tends to flow well now, and Mercury's communication skill combined with the 5th house's natural creativity is a genuinely favorable pairing for anyone working in these fields, especially once the eclipse window passes and clearer thinking returns. Since Mercury rules your 4th and 7th houses during this period, those themes get pulled into this creative, romantic window. Your 4th house covers home and mother, while your 7th house covers partnership and marriage. In practical terms, this means creative or romantic conversations during this transit may often circle back to home-related plans, such as making your living space more comfortable or creative, or to future partnership plans discussed within a romantic context, like planning a life together with someone. The Sun and an exalted Jupiter already sitting in your 5th house before Mercury arrives is one of the positive placements of this entire transit season, since Jupiter here directly supports children, education, creativity and romance, all amplified by being in its own sign of exaltation. With Mercury joining this pair, expect genuinely good news connected to a child's achievement, an exam or admission result, a creative project gaining recognition, or a romantic relationship deepening through honest, warm communication. Students among Pisces individuals should find this period particularly supportive for exam results and admissions. Between August 11th and 13th, the Moon joins this gathering in your 5th house, and on August 12th the total solar eclipse takes place exactly here. This is likely to bring a significant event connected to children, education or romance, possibly an important result, a creative breakthrough, or an emotional turning point within a romantic relationship. Because the 5th house also governs speculation, it is worth being cautious about stock market decisions, gambling or any high-risk speculative financial move exactly around August 12th, even though the rest of this house's energy feels favorable, since eclipse timing tends to distort judgment specifically around risk and speculation. Take a little extra care with any decision involving a child's future, a major creative commitment, or a romantic step like moving in together or getting engaged right in the middle of the eclipse window, simply because emotions run especially high then. Let a few days pass after August 12th before making anything official, even if the initial signs feel wonderful. For Pisces individuals working in creative fields such as writing, art, film, music, or content creation, this transit offers genuinely favorable conditions for both inspiration and recognition, especially once Mercury settles into its own nakshatra Ashlesha in the final stretch. A project shared publicly during this window has a good chance of connecting with people on an emotional level, since the fifth house and this planetary combination both support heartfelt, meaningful expression over purely technical work. Pregnancy-related matters, if relevant to you or someone close to you, also fall under the fifth house, and this transit generally brings favorable, hopeful energy to such situations, along with good conversations and useful information from those you consult. Teachers and those involved in coaching or mentoring younger people should also find their guidance landing especially well during this period, with students responding more openly than usual to encouragement and advice. Overall, allow yourself to enjoy the lighter, more playful side of this transit, whether through time with children, a creative hobby, or romance, while simply pairing that enjoyment with a touch of patience around anything permanent decided during the eclipse days themselves, so the warmth this period brings has the chance to settle into something real rather than fading once Mercury moves on into Leo. As Mercury moves through the nakshatras of Cancer, the early Punarvasu days bring genuine warmth and generosity to creative and romantic matters. The middle Pushya stretch through the eclipse window asks for a little patience and grounding amid the emotional highs, and the final week in Ashlesha, Mercury's own nakshatra, sharpens your creative and romantic instincts considerably, making the last few days of this transit an excellent window to finalize a creative project or have an important heart-to-heart conversation before Mercury exits into Leo on August 22nd. Overall, this is a joyful and creative period for Pisces individuals, best enjoyed with a small amount of patience around the eclipse days so that its warmth translates into something lasting. As we conclude this episode, please keep in mind that these insights are based on the sidereal zodiac system used in Vedic astrology, which differs from the tropical system by approximately 24 degrees. These are general predictions. The real impact depends on your dasha cycles and your individual birth chart. For a personalized analysis or consultation, feel free to reach out. If you found this video valuable, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And now, you can also hype this video to boost it within the community. Your support helps this knowledge reach more people who may benefit. Thank you for watching. Stay aware, keep learning, and keep shining bright.